Loved Columbus, loved serving here. But I always knew in the back of my mind I wanted to one day be sheriff, and the opportunity presented itself to run, and I ran for office and was elected. Biggest honor and privilege of my life was able to serve as the sheriff here in Bartholomew County.
Are you ready to celebrate?
Whoa.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the hashtag Celebrate Columbus show. My name is Josh Burnett, and we're super excited about today's hashtag Celebrate Columbus show. I've been wanting to interview our guest here for a long time. He's been serving the community for many years, and you're going to get to know him a little bit more today. And we want to welcome Sheriff Matt Myers.
Hello, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. Well, before we get started, my oldest son would just be so upset if I did not mention that his hero is Sheriff Matt Myers, and he wants to be just like him. So I want to give a shout out to my son, Will. If he gets to watch this, hey, I got to talk to your hero. So thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it. So Sheriff, we're going to be talking today about a number of different things, and we want to get to know you a little bit better, but also how you are serving the Bartholomew County area. So why don't we just go ahead and jump in, if you don't mind, and tell us a little bit about you and your path to becoming sheriff of Bartholomew County.
Okay. Well, first, again, I want to thank you for inviting me to the show. Of
course.
It's wonderful. My path started at an early age. My father was a Columbus police officer for 23 years.
Oh.
He worked here in the community, and my mother, she worked at Columbus Regional Hospital, and she was head of security, and then she got involved in the city council and serving the community. So I've always had a desire to serve. I grew up here in Columbus and attended school here, and I knew at an early age I wanted to be in law enforcement. I wanted to follow my father's footsteps. So I went to, actually after I graduated from high school, I went to Vincennes University and got a degree in criminal justice, and came back here. And I worked at Columbus at the sheriff's office, and I was a jailer, and that was back when I was like 21 years old. So I got experience in the jail, and I knew I had a passion to serve people and serve the community. So I applied for the Columbus Police Department in 1991, and was able to get hired, and it was a privilege to serve there from 91 until I became sheriff. And when I was at the city police, I did a lot of different, was fortunate that I was able to do a lot of different things, a lot of different positions. Regular patrol officer for several years, and then I was in the field training program as an FTO, and supervised on the street as a supervisor, did public information, worked in detectives, worked in narcotics. So I got to do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed my career. Loved Columbus. Loved serving here. But I always knew in the back of my mind I wanted to one day be sheriff, and the opportunity presented itself to run, and I ran for office and was elected. Biggest honor and privilege of my life was able to serve as the sheriff here in Bartholomew County. But since then, I've been doing the sheriff thing and enjoy it. It's a lot different than the city police. People think, the sheriff's office is the same as the city police, and that's just not the case. There's a lot of other responsibilities other than just working the street, law enforcement type duties. The sheriff's responsible for a lot of different things, the jail being one, handling the courthouse security, civil process, serving civil process papers and things of that nature. So a lot different than the city police, but I've enjoyed every aspect of my career, and again, I've really enjoyed serving the citizens of Bartholomew County.
Awesome. Well, since becoming sheriff, there's been a lot of things that have gone on, whether it be on the national scale or here locally. What's been your priority as, your time of sheriff here in Bartholomew County?
Well, Josh, it's been probably a couple things. I'd say one, the big thing from day one locally that was a priority for me and our administration was drug enforcement. We feel like drugs are the core of community's problem. When you look at Columbus and Bartholomew County, if you look at some of the criminal activity that goes on here, a lot of it is centered around people that are using drugs or addicted to drugs and things of that nature. So when we came into office, one of the things that we wanted to do was work more together with all agencies. And so, when I worked at narcotics back in the 90s, the city police had a division, the sheriff's office had a division that worked, and then the state police, and we might work together, we might not. That's just not a good concept, especially when you're dealing with drugs. And with heroin now, heroin's killing people, young people. It does not discriminate against anyone.
Right.
So with heroin and meth and the issues, we thought, all of us work together. So reached out to the prosecutor, Bill Nash, and reached out to the mayor and said, we want to establish a drug unit that is one unit. And we were able to do that. We signed an agreement with the city and the prosecutor's office, and now we operate as one unit. Sheriff's deputies, city police, prosecutor. It's never been done in Bartholomew County before. Put the egos aside, put the boundaries aside. We're all working as one. So, when you ask what the biggest priority has been, it's been drug enforcement. Again, heroin is killing people, young people, old people, and so there's an urgency to get these drugs slowed down. Coming into our community. So, as far as the supply part, it's a supply and demand. Right. The supply part, we're doing more as far as drug enforcement than we ever have in Bartholomew County. And that the credit goes to the city, the mayor, the prosecutor, the sheriff's office. But then we've also established a relationship with the Drug Enforcement Administration out of Indianapolis, where we've assigned one of our sheriff's deputies to work the DEA task force out of Indianapolis. So, one of the things that we're doing is we'll go to the source now.
Right.
We're going after the big fish, so to say.
Wow.
We want to stop it from coming into central Indiana as well. So you hit me on a spot that I'm very passionate about when you start talking about drugs. But and then the other part is the community. We're dealing with the demand portion of it, and the demand is the addiction. So again, we're doing the supply portion where we're really out there trying to slow the drugs from coming in here into our community. But then the demand is the community has stepped up, and through the ASP program, we are really working on dealing with the addiction part of it. And we're talking about programming in the jail for addiction, reentry programs for the community. So it's government, it's the private sector, it's a lot of different people and organizations coming together to address the heroin epidemic locally. And I see some really positive movement in the community when it comes to handling and attacking this issue. So if the community members aren't involved in it, I encourage you to get involved in it. Yeah. But again, if we can get the drug issue slowed down and reduce the amount of drugs coming in the community, I think you're going to see overall crime in our county go down.
That's encouraging to hear. Yeah. So one of the things that I've also noticed that you and your group has been focusing on, I think you guys do a really good job, is social media. Yes. We're doing this show on social media because that's where people are at. That's where they're tuning into. You've been using social media a lot to serve our community. Why are you doing that, and why do you think it's important?
Well, that's a good question. And one of the things that when I came into office that I thought was missing, and I talked to a lot of people in the community, and they thought we could do a better job is transparency and that partnership with the community, that trusting partnership. And if you look around, Josh, you look at national TV and you see law enforcement in some of these bigger cities that had some issues.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that the perception was police and law enforcement were bad or they were doing things wrong because they were seeing it on the news a lot. So it basically, law enforcement had to step up their game. And what they had to do was start creating relationships, building relationships, trusting relationships with the community they serve. And one way of doing that is reaching out. And I felt like from day one we can reach out to the community, not only through community meetings. We have a lot of meetings scheduled throughout the year to meet face to face with citizens, but to have social media and use that in a positive way to get your message out to the community and for them to be able to, give you feedback.
Right.
We were very concerned at first. We put out our social media and we just put out a lot of information and we were reluctant to open it up for everybody to comment on.
Right.
And, the last year we were able to open it up. Great feedback. Social media has changed law enforcement throughout the world. It's changed the country completely.
Yeah.
There's advantages and disadvantages to it. The advantages, I think, far outweigh the disadvantages. But it has helped us sell, what we're wanting to sell to the community. And it's a great way for the community members to keep track of what's going on. They feel like that that they have ownership. They feel closer to the deputies. And it's a way for us to promote what the deputies are doing. The downside to it, if there is a downside, is sometimes people can sometimes say whatever they want on social media, and they kind of hide behind maybe
keyboard warriors. So,
maybe hide behind maybe an account that's not legit and things.
Right.
But I would not use social media because of that. Those people are, keep it positive. You're always going to have negativity and people that don't, the glass is half empty type people.
Right.
But you keep consistent with your message, and that is to build relationships and to make this community a better place. And listen to the feedback and be open to positive feedback. Social media can really help your organization. And so we use that. We send out press releases, but again, we want to be transparent when we can be. Obviously there's times you can't be if it could possibly hurt public safety or jeopardize
Ongoing
investigations.
investigations.
Then we may not be able to say everything up front. But I'm an upfront kind of person. I stand behind what we put out there, and if we make a mistake, we'll own up to it. But I would rather the community have the information and be able to monitor us than not put anything out at all.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I know we really appreciate that as a community. I think that as we talk to more and more people with our business, they actually point to you all as somebody who's doing it right. And I think that everybody here watching would agree with that, and we appreciate that.
Well, we have a lot of people involved in it. We have our public information, Judy Johns Jackson, and we have some other people who work on it. But again, it's about outreach. And, if I can outreach the community members in any way, we're going to do it. In order to reduce crime, you have to have trusting relationships. If you don't use social media, you aren't out giving talks, and you hide from that because of negativity or people that could bash what you're selling, then you're cutting your whole program short. And because people, they want that. They want to be connected. They want relationships. And it's important that you continue to give information to the community and be out front and selling what you're doing. and selling your employees, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, you talked a little bit earlier about your department and the guys and gals who you work with. I know several of them personally. I think we have a special group of people that serve our county. Why do you think our sheriff's department is special, and what really sets them out, compared to others around the world?
We are a constitutional office. There's something to be said about wearing a star on your chest. The deputies, the men and women that work there, take great pride in their jobs, and they take great pride in their equipment and their community. If you go to the sheriff's office and you look around, the building is magnificent, and that's not just the deputies. That's the maintenance staff, the custodial staff, the women and men that both do the support part of the sheriff's office. Great pride in the sheriff's office, and I was very taken back when I became sheriff at just how much pride is there. And there was a lot of pride at the city police, and so I take nothing away from the Columbus Police Department. Great organization, great group of people. But the deputies, they're a special group of people, and they truly want to serve the people in this county. The money's not always the greatest thing. You always hear, they could make more money and all that. But these men and women go out and serve the community, not because of the pay. It's because they have a passion to serve people. And they're highly trained. We've increased the training since I've been in office. We felt like one of the, we're actually we've doubled our training hours since I've come in, and I do that. We put an emphasis on that because of everything going on nationally. The job is tougher, so we did some diversity training. We've done a lot of different communication type training. But you have to stay on top of all training to be the best. And so you got to put the hours in. So one of the reasons your sheriff's office deputies are the best is because we train and we look for the best when we're hiring. And that goes back to previous sheriffs, Sheriff Mark Gorbett. I will give him credit because he hired a lot of well-educated, well-rounded, service-oriented individuals, and we've continued that. So that's a blessing for you all out in the community. Yeah. But I would not trade any of the deputies, any of the corrections staff, the support staff. Excellent group of people to work with, and it truly is an honor for me to be able to be the point man for those people, because they make you look good.
Well, we've talked about, yourself, your background, and how we're doing as a community and things that you're focusing on, and a great staff that you have. I wonder, how can we as a community better support you and help your department? Because I think that people watching the show, we want to help and be a part of helping this community become better and better each day.
Josh, I think the community is doing that daily now, and I'll tell you how they're doing it. They're helping us by when they see something, they say something. And one of the reasons we're able to shut down a lot of these drug dealers and really hold these people that are committing crimes accountable is because the people have bought into what we're selling, and we're selling public safety, and they are calling and giving us tips. We have great employees, great deputies, but we're only as good as the people we serve. And the people are connected to us. They're calling, they're giving information. We are putting ourselves out there for them to be able to do that. And I would encourage the community to continue to take ownership in any issues we face here in the community, whether it be law enforcement or anything, and help us and keep calling. You can remain anonymous when you call in tips. But, one of the other things is holding us accountable. Holding us accountable for the job we do. I have no problem explaining to the community why we do what we do, or why we did what we did when we did it. And I think that, one of the things that I'm pushing for is body-worn cameras for our deputies. We're working on trying to get funding for that. Anything that we can do to build relationships. And part of that is listening to the community. And if they have concerns about the department or what we're doing, we need to listen. And, if we need to make changes, we make changes. If we don't, then we need to explain why. But holding your department accountable is a must. And so they can help us by doing that. And again, being involved day in, day out with reducing crime in the community by reporting suspicious activity.
Yeah. Well, that's really helpful just to hear that from you, to hear that from, the top down, to hear that, hey, we want you to be involved, but also hold us accountable. I think that's just a must, and that's awesome to hear. Before we get going, I wanted to ask you one question that we like to ask all of our guests, and I know that you're serving the greater Columbus community in the Bartholomew County, but growing up in Columbus, why do you, Sheriff, celebrate Columbus?
It is the most unique place in the world. The people here are great people, great community. Just the whole. We're architecturally, the architect here, and it's just the Columbus and Bartholomew County experience. Growing up here, there's no other place I'd rather be than right here.
Awesome. I really appreciate you being on the
Thanks for inviting
Celebrate
us.
Columbus show, and thank you, Columbus, for watching this episode. It means a lot that one of our servant leaders would come by and talk with us, and I hope that it's been informative and helpful for you all. If people want to help in some way, what's the best way to get in hold of your office? And
They can stop by the sheriff's office. I have an open door policy. They can come in anytime. And then they can call the sheriff's office and ask for me, 379-1650, 812. And they can call anytime. And if I'm not in a meeting, I'll take their call.
or they can send you a message on Facebook, right?
Or they can use Facebook. That's correct.
Exactly. Well, Columbus, thank you so much for watching this special edition of the Celebrate Columbus show. We'll see you next time.